Good evening and welcome to this evening's candidate forum presented by the Bay Village, Rocky River, and Westlake North Olmsted chapters of the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland. We're pleased to welcome all of you here with us tonight, and I'd also like to welcome those who are watching online via the live stream, and to any folks who are watching the recording, which will be made available on the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland YouTube channel after this evening. My name is Alice Allen, and I'm co-chair of the Rocky River chapter of the League. I'd like to thank the candidates in the Rocky River Municipal Court judicial race who are with us tonight. Thank you to the City of Rocky River for the use of this space. Thank you to all the Bay River and Westlake North Olmsted chapter volunteers who are staffing this event. In keeping with our long-standing forum tradition, questions for the candidates will be submitted in written form. Everyone should have received a card as you entered this evening to write down your questions for our candidates. When you have a question ready, raise your hand and a runner will come and pick up your card. You can also raise your hand if you need another question card. We have two League members at the question sorting table who will be reviewing questions to avoid duplication, to provide a diversity of questions, and to ensure clarity and appropriateness. As I stated earlier, we are recording the program for future viewing on YouTube, and I want to let you all know that personal recording during the program is forbidden by League policy. You are invited to view and share the forum in its entirety on YouTube, but we also have a prohibition on sharing segments of the forum on social media. Finally, we ask the cooperation of the audience in avoiding expressions of support or opposition to any candidate during tonight's program. Please remember the purpose of this evening is to hear from the candidates so that each resident might make their own best informed decision regarding their vote, and any vocal interruption takes time away from the candidates. Now I'd like to introduce you to Pam Smith. We are fortunate to have Ms. Smith as our moderator this evening. She comes to us from Lakewood, where she's been a longtime member of the League. Ms. Smith has served 3 4-year terms on Lakewood City Council and continues to volunteer at many Lakewood civic organizations. Ms. Smith is retired from her marketing manager job with Steammaster Carpet, and she always enjoys monitoring candidate forums and recommends them as the best way to learn about candidates. Let's welcome Ms. Smith.
Thank you very much, Alice. It's wonderful to be here and to see this great crowd. I think it's rare to have a judicial forum, but it's very important for our quality of life because we're allowed to, we elect our judges and we want to know how we're electing them. Just a little bit of information on the League. We are, as Alice said, a nonpartisan political membership organization formed in 1920, immediately after the passage of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. The League encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League does not endorse candidates, but encourages voters to learn about candidates and ask their own questions. I already have 3 to be informed voters. Election information and guidance is available online, and you will find more information about the League at tables in the back. To tell you about the format for tonight, we have 2 candidates for judge, Brian Hagan and Thomas Kelly. They will both have an introduction of 2 minutes. There are timers here in the front that keep track of the time and tell them when time is up. After their introductions, we will go into questions. So feel free to jot a question at any time. Hold your card up in the air and someone will pick it up from you. We also have questions that we have generated ourselves, so it will be a complete night with a lot of information. Our opening statement, going in alphabetical order. Our first statement will be by Brian Hagan, and Thomas Kelly will be first at the closing. So, Mr. Hagan, I'd like you to give us 2 minutes of who you are.
Very good, thank you. Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. My name is Brian Hagan. I am the administrative presiding judge of the Rocky River Municipal Court. I'm completing my 18th year on the bench. I have over 20 years of judicial experience as I sat as an acting judge and magistrate for Judges Holmes and Gravels. I have 4 years of experience on Rocky River City Council. 2 of those years, my colleagues elected me as president of the council. Prior to being elected to the bench, I have 27 years of trial practice throughout the state of Ohio. So collectively, I have 44 years of legal experience. I'm the current treasurer for the Association of Municipal and County Judges of Ohio. I've served as their president in 2018, and they elected me again second time in 2022. I am the past president of the Northern Ohio Judicial Association. I am the founding member and current president of the West Shore Bar Association. I come to you endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, the Northern Ohio Firefighters Association, 11 union and trade organizations, and I'll refer you to my webpage at judgehagan.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thomas Kelly,
Thank you.
maybe hear from you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tom Kelly. I have been in the practice of law for 22 years. During that period of time, I have served as an assistant county prosecutor for Cuyahoga County, 8 years as a municipal prosecutor, about 4 years for 2 different communities as a municipal public defender. I've been 4 years an assistant law director. I have also served as a legislator. I was elected to Bay Village City Council at large in 2019, served a full term there. Some of you may remember me from the last election cycle, where I ran for the other seat on this court and lost by less than 0.5% in a 3-way race. I am well qualified, having received, I don't know if we're going to do this again this time. Judge for yourself in 2023, 5 of the 6 groups, bar associations found me to be an excellent candidate, with 1 finding me to be good, with the only caveat being they were looking for incumbents. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here this evening because I believe strongly that voters should have a choice. I believe the time has come to continue to move this court forward, and I look forward to an interesting dialogue here. I thank you all for attending.
Thank you very much. Moving to our questions, I'll alternate who goes first. Starting with Mr. Hagan. The court sees a wide variety of cases, and I think there's a handout that tells you what variety of cases that come before the Rocky River Municipal Court. In what areas do you have specific expertise, and in what areas do you feel you still need to learn more?
Well, I think I have the expertise on every matter that comes before the municipal court. I've been doing it for 18 years. In fact, I practiced in many municipal courts throughout the state during my time as a trial attorney. So the matters that come before the court, we do felony preliminary hearings, actually arraignments on them, and we handle trial work for drug offenses, theft offenses, domestic violence, traffic offenses, as well as civil cases. So we have jurisdiction up to $15,000. We have our small claims up to $3,000. We have exclusive jurisdiction up to landlord tenant matters. But I think my favorite expertise is the life sentence that I'm able to give out when I marry couples. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. I'm well versed in all of the areas of law that this court receives. As mentioned, I've served in both felony and misdemeanor courts throughout our jurisdiction. I've had the privilege of working with any number of people on cases ranging from traffic tickets all the way up to murders. I'm confident in my ability to address the matters that come before the court and honor the trust that the people put in our court system. In terms of what I need to work on, my interest comes from trying to see to it that we address emerging trends and issues that are coming before the court. I hope to get into that. I'll give you one random one that comes to mind for me that I'd like to see the court expand, but need the help of the legislature. The monetary jurisdiction for civil matters has not been updated in almost 30 years. If it were following inflation, it would be double what it is, 15 to 30,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Starting with Mr. Kelly, can you describe a case that you've been involved in before the court, which you are particularly proud of?
Okay. This would be the only instance in which I actually had a trial where I got to work alongside my father, who's also an attorney. He's got a few years on me, but we worked together on a particular matter and went to a jury trial in front of Judge Donna Congenie Fitzsimmons, I want to say in 2008. It was simply a matter where we were not able to reach agreement, and that's how you end up in a trial. And in this particular instance, my father and I were able to work well together and secure a not guilty verdict for an individual who was alleged to have committed a crime that he did not commit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. Do you have a case that you are particularly proud of?
Well, as a judge, I'm not sure if I'm going to be proud of any case that comes before me, except for the fact of the ones that I've handled and handled properly. I think one case that stands out is my first sentencing when I was on the bench a week into my first term was a young woman that was charged with theft. She had 5 screaming kids in the courtroom, and she suffered from a terrible heroin addiction. I sentenced her to jail to put her into the jail reduction program, which we use to get people into treatment. Her 5 screaming kids went out the back door with Children and Family Services, and she went to jail. 2 years later, she's back at the courthouse there to see me, and she said to me, she goes, I want to let you know I'm 2 years sober, I'm employed, but most importantly, I have my children back. She goes, I want to thank you. I said, stop right there. You did the hardest stuff. I just put my boot on your backside and put you through the door. I'm proud of those aspects and we saved lives.
Thank you. Starting with Mr. Hagan, what qualities most impressed you among judges that you have known?
That's an interesting thing because in my 27 years as a trial lawyer and now as I'm on the faculty of the Ohio Judicial College, so I teach judges and magistrates. But those that are fair, impartial, stern, they listen, they're compassionate to what is happening, and they apply the law as it is written. We may not agree with the law all the time, but that's what is given to us by the legislature down in Columbus. So those individuals that work that way, I appreciate. The ones that I don't appreciate are the ones that put the robe on and feel as if they're infallible. And I remember 18 years ago when I was first elected, that was the first thing I said to people. I said, if you see me starting to go down that track, you grab me by my lapels and slap me around. Unfortunately, nobody has to slap me. Nobody has yet to slap me. So,
Mr. Kelly, what qualities most impressed you among judges you know?
First and foremost, humility, an ability to keep an open mind, integrity, a willingness to truly listen. I was just recently, and I hope everyone will understand why I will not go into some great detail. I was recently in front of a judge, and it was clear to me that it didn't matter what I said. That the answer, the conclusion had already known. And it is in those instances where, you know, it becomes a real challenge, and the administration of justice and the true opportunity for the public to be heard is diminished. So it's really important in my mind that you remain humble and keep an open mind.
Thank you.
just to be clear, that wasn't me.
This is a question for the audience, and starting with Mr. Kelly, what is your policy and view of the release of public records if they are requested?
The laws in this area are increasingly clear that absent some very limited exceptions, that the information needs to come out, and it needs to come out quickly. And as such, my position is that cities need to abide by that. It's not something that typically the municipal court needs to get itself involved in, but in terms of a position, yeah, the law in this area I find to be pretty clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan.
I agree as well. The law is very clear on that. Rocky River Court, everything that is filed with the clerk's office is a public record. So whenever we get a public records request, that information is released. And the only thing that is confidential is anything that would be in the community control department, because that is the judicial property. And so most of them contain information that we use for sentencing individuals or protecting victims that are victims of crime.
Thank you. Starting with Mr. Hagan, how should the court handle a case where a mentally ill defendant is accused of a crime? How would you best determine whether this defendant has a mental issue?
The laws on this are very clear as far as it comes down to the municipal court. We do have a liaison, and the jailers in all 5 of our suburbs are equipped to do their interview process. They'll advise the court whether or not they believe that there is an issue that is before the court relative to mental illness. When you're there on the video arraigning them, you can tell again. We are specifically, when it comes to the competency issues, we use a forensic physician that will go out and for the evaluation, but we cannot hold people in jail for that evaluation unless it's a felony or a crime of violence. Everybody else has to be referred out to get their evaluation. So you can imagine that the arrows in our quivers being released by the state legislature all the time. But we are very keen and alert to what is happening. In fact, we just had 3 incompetencies this past week in my courtroom.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. I will say there's a sub question here that I believe Mr. Hagan answered for himself, but I should state it for you. Does your answer change if the crime in issue is a violent crime? So when the court is handling cases where a mentally ill defendant is accused?
Thank you. Yes, the nature of the crime, of course, has an impact on how you handle the matter. But the focus of my response is going to be more on the notion that the issues surrounding individuals with mental health or dual diagnosis claims are the challenge of this time. The mechanisms that are available to all courts, felony and misdemeanor, need to be improved and enhanced. I understand what the judge has said in terms of the limitations, but I also recognize that we need to do more. And that involves making sure that, if there are different providers or opportunities for collaboration so that we can have ready, quicker access to evaluations, that needs to happen. But regardless, there's much more to be done in that area.
Thank you. Starting with Mr. Kelly, what do you believe in the bigger picture? What do you believe is the greatest obstacle to justice in the municipal court?
I would refer back to one of my prior answers. I think it has a lot to do with keeping an open mind and having that true engagement. It's too easy, too frequently, for people to be comfortable in their roles, to become comfortable in their roles, and as a result, to jump ahead to the conclusion. I've seen it in prosecutors and defense attorneys and jurists. It is a common challenge that comes from experience. Is obviously a useful and important thing. But when your experience leads you to the idea that you already know the answer before you have all the information, that's a problem. And I see that as the biggest obstacle.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. Do you see an obstacle to justice?
There's many obstacles, and I think one of the things that is facing our court today, again, reverting back to mental illness, is that we don't have a vehicle to assist those individuals that suffer from mental illness. We've been trying over the past several years to get the probate court involved in us. If we send a person from the Westlake jail down to Lutheran for an exam, they put them in an Uber and send them back to Westlake jail within 20 minutes. They just don't have the programs for us to assist these men and women, young men and women that are suffering from mental illness. And the mental illness in our jury, it's rampant. I mean, the drug abuse, I'd rather prefer to handle alcoholics and drug addicts, but the mental illness, we just can't get them the services. So I think that's one of the biggest hurdles that the municipal courts are facing. And it's not just in the West Shore area, this is statewide.
Thank you. Starting with Mr. Hagan, what methods would you suggest to improve court proceedings and efficiencies?
My court is run very efficient, so we have a very good percentage of our clearance of our cases there, which I'm very proud of. In fact, I was just down at the Ohio Judicial Conference today for our executive board meeting. I sit as the co-chair of the Criminal Law and Procedure Committee, and Chief Justice Kennedy was talking about cleaning up our cases, getting them out as soon as possible. But we have an over 100% clearance of our cases. So I think we're pretty efficient in scheduling our matters before the court and getting the attorneys and the defendants there and resolving these matters. And that's not only on the traffic and criminal side, but it's also on the civil side as well.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, do you have any suggestions for efficiencies?
Yes, yeah, of course I do. But in terms of the challenge I see here has more to do with what I perceive the road ahead to look like. There are a number of elected officials in the room, and they would all tell you the same thing. Budgets are going to become increasingly difficult for all of the municipalities that are served by this court. I see in the future the need to do more with less. And as a result, there's going to be increased pressure of finding ways to do that, to find efficiencies that may not have been previously seen. What I would say is broadly, it's not about Judge Hagan or this court in particular. My observation is that so many courts are slow to change. That if there is an area or a place that doesn't seem as eager to move, it would be the court system. And that's what I would like to focus on. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, a question from the audience, and I don't know if you have these numbers near at hand. How many cases did you take to a jury verdict as a sole counsel or a lead counsel?
I don't have those ready at hand, but in just the 3.5 years I was a county prosecutor, I did about 25 jury trials. No, I can't say that I did a murder solo, but I certainly did a number of sex offenses, robberies, other very serious crimes. Since I've been in private practice, I've tried jury trials ranging from law school questions of riparian rights to things involving, matters that don't even allow for jury rights, whether we're talking about a divorce or some other more limited arbitration. That said, I'm well versed and very familiar with the jury trial process.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. How many cases have you taken to a jury verdict as sole counsel?
Well, we're going back now 18 years, but in my 27 years of private practice, I had jury trials on both the plaintiff and defense side on civil cases, whether they be medical malpractice cases or automobile accidents. And I would probably say about 50 of those. In my last 5 years of private practice, I had lawyers calling me to try their cases, which I enjoyed. And then on the criminal side, I probably had about 30 jury trials on the criminal defense side. Now, as a judge, you'll have to go on the website to find how many jury trials I had, other than bench trials, but they're multiple.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. What are your views as to how the municipal court as a whole deals effectively with racial, ethnic, and gender bias?
It's ironic because we just started a new committee at the Ohio Judicial Conference, and it's one on diversity. And as I was talking to Judge Topeka on the way home, she's the judge at the Chardon Municipal Court. We were laughing in a sense because as judges, you deal with this all the time. You're supposed to be blind to whatever is before you. That's why Lady Justice has a blind on her. So we're very sensitive, and not only racial, but religious, gender, everything is there. And I think we're probably, and I know Judge Burke, and I know for sure that Judge Fitzsimmons, that we are very cognizant of those issues before us, and justice is blind. And as a judge, I will say that everybody in my court was treated the same.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, what are your views effectively dealing with racial, ethnic, and gender bias?
In a perfect world, justice is blind. In the real world, everyone has their own biases. And the challenge for any judge or judicial official is to be able to set your preconceived notions aside and find a way to become as close to blind to those issues as you can. I'm grateful that the Judicial Conference has seen the need to set up a committee to that issue. But I think it speaks to the fact that it remains a challenge and it remains a problem. You can even get into more nuanced issues of, the makeup of who comes in front of the court versus who is sitting behind the bench. And that issue causes a real need for reflection in order to ensure that justice is appropriately doled out. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a question that's very current in almost many things you read every day. Artificial intelligence is affecting us in many areas of our life. Starting with Mr. Kelly, can you comment on how AI may impact courts?
I suspect the author of this question already knows this, but one of the more recent interesting media issues on this as it relates to AI and its interaction with law has been briefs submitted to courts featuring invented case law, hallucinated by the computer case law. There are problems involving AI that we can't even envision at this moment. But the question isn't, what are the problems? It's how do we contend with this? How do we bring this technology in such a way that it can benefit the court? It's going to be something that requires more than the remaining 10 seconds that I have. I would just say that it's something we need to work on moving forward.
Thank you. Very interesting answer. Mr. Hagan, have you seen AI affecting court activities?
Not on our level yet. And I will say that most of the issues that come before the Rocky River Municipal Court, we as judges, we just don't sit in chambers, looking at briefs as far as we're studying all the time. So we are required to have 40 hours of CLEs in our reporting period of time. And every week we get new cases that we are reviewing and the new Court of Appeals cases throughout the state. So if I see a case in a brief that I never saw before, there's going to be some issues. And I'm hoping, and we're telling all the attorneys, both on the prosecutor side and on the defense side or plaintiff side, you better make sure to read these briefs. Because if there is an issue, there's an ethical issue and there's a disciplinary issue for anybody to be citing cases that are made up.
Thank you. Mr. Hagan, are there aspects of the court that the public's not aware of, but which you would want them to know here at Rocky River?
Something that comes to my mind right away are the individuals that work in our community control department. Besides the individuals that work in the clerk's office, they are hired by the clerk of courts there, and they're amazing that work for us. But our community control department is the best group of individuals in the state of Ohio. We are very proactive in what we do. A lot of people have no idea of what they do. But when individuals come before the court relating back to mental illness, drug addiction, alcoholism, we are very proactive. We get those individuals into treatment before they enter a plea. So they're not sitting there at the time of sentencing and they're put in treatment at that time in order that they're set up to fail on probation. So these individuals are all licensed social workers. They all have their master's degree and just phenomenal. The department that we have is phenomenal.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, are there aspects of the court that the public's not aware of?
This is a harder question for me, as you might imagine, not working presently for the court. I will echo the judge's remarks, though, and say nothing but glowing words about the employees of the Rocky River Municipal Court, who I hope to work with in the future. Yes, the things that I would note, I guess, that the public doesn't see is the commitment that so many people have. The probation department obviously is great, but the bailiffs, both uniformed and not, the members of the clerk's office who work without much praise or attention, and for that matter, the prosecutors and other defense attorneys who really are out there trying to do the work to ensure that cases resolve in the best and fairest way possible.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, you're not on the court, but you're watching it. What do you see as the greatest issues Rocky River Municipal Court faces?
Echoing some of the remarks I made before, I would say to you that it's more about my background is, in addition to my law experience, is I have a master's in business administration, and my undergrad work was in economics. So I oftentimes think of what's called SWOT analysis. For those who are unfamiliar, that's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. In this instance, the court has any number of strengths, but what we're really looking at here is what are our opportunities, and weaknesses and threats can kind of merge together. The opportunities and the weaknesses, threats are related to the issue of budgeting, the availability of funding, the need for additional services in the community in areas that are currently underserved with respect to dual diagnosis and mental health issues, and how we can make all of that work to the betterment of the 5 communities we serve.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. What are the greatest issues the Rocky River Municipal Court faces?
Obviously, in any court throughout the state of Ohio on the municipal level, it's financial. We've, since 1997, for 23 years, we operated in the black. And then in January, beginning in January of 2020, was our first year that we were in a deficit. And what happened in 2020? COVID. It shut everything down. And we've been battling back ever since that time, operating in a deficit. One thing, our caseload, our cases that have been filed, along with the mayor's court in North Olmsted, which took for the past 12 years, 73% of our filings, a decrease from that. But we don't sell anything. It's what the officers do. It's a user court. If they use the court, we get paid. So our filings are starting to come up. We're doing some post-COVID things. And I think the future of our court is going to be back to where we are back in the black again and operating like we did for 23 straight years.
Thank you. Mr. Hagan, this is a question about campaign contributions. In any election cycle, there are campaign contributions. How do you maintain impartiality and avoid the appearance of undue influence in the performance of judicial responsibilities?
Well, first and foremost, the judicial canons forbid me from accepting any campaign contributions. So everything that comes in, and with Mr. Kelly as well, goes through our treasurer. So I have no idea who's been donating to my campaign yet, because the report hasn't been prepared. So, we're part and partial from that. You can only raise money so many months before the general election, and then so many months afterwards. And this is, it was so many months before the primary, but there's no primary here, and so many months afterwards. So we're not like any other politician where they are constantly out there campaigning and raising funds. The judiciary is limited, and therefore it sort of limits specifically any type of impropriety that will go on.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, would you have any comment on campaign contributions to judicial races?
It is a difficult thing, because obviously to run a campaign, you need contributions. The people who are most likely to give to judicial candidates are people who work before the court. But there are a number of insulating factors, including contribution limits that other offices don't have, the limitations in terms of timing, and other challenges that are intended to, if not eliminate, then certainly mitigate the question of how much influence any of this can have. For the longest time, it was $650. Now it's $800. I am confident that neither I nor my opponent would lose our integrity over that sum.
Thank you. This is a question from the audience that harkens back to some of your other comments, but has a little twist in it. We hear about sentencing, including drug and mental health treatment, but what can you do to help victims of crimes receive help? Starting with Mr. Kelly.
Thank you for the question. I guess it depends on what you mean by help the victims. There are any number of laws and rules intended to ensure that victims are heard, that their wishes, if not followed, are at least given the appropriate consideration. There's a Victims of Crimes Fund for individuals who suffer financial loss. But beyond that, I think it has more to do with ensuring that those individuals are included in the process, given every opportunity to participate, and they know that the outcomes in terms of public safety give them confidence that whatever they suffered, that the issue will be addressed and the offender held accountable.
Thank you. Mr. Hagan.
Thank you. Several years ago, the voters of the state of Ohio passed a constitutional amendment called Marcy's Law. It took the legislature about 7 years or so to put that through the sausage grinder to codify or put into a statute what the victims' rights were. Judge Fitzsimmons and I fought for and obtained some funding so that we were able to have a victims advocate at the court. And after that program dissolved from the funding, we hired a victims advocate that is specifically there and is notified whenever there is a victim case. And this could be a violent crime. It could be a civil matter. It could be someone that was ripped off from a scam artist or something. They are victims as well. So we have individuals that are learned in counseling these victims. And we also make sure that anything that happens in that court, that victim is notified, whether it be pre-trials, pleas, sentencings, probation violations, and even sealing of a record where they were a victim of that crime.
Thank you. This is our last question that I am asking. And starting with Mr. Hagan, do you have any suggestions about the ways we might change how we select judges in our community? Is there a way to have a citizen panel, for instance, or something on that?
There was some talk early going about merit selection. Some states have that. There are some states that they have appointment, but there are some states that you're not even necessary for you to have a law degree to be a judge. I kind of like what we have here. And basically to go out, as I said, I've been elected 3 times in this position. First time in 2007, unopposed in 2013 and 2009, I believe, whatever it was, so every 6 years. And this is my last time. It's my last go around here. So the Constitution has an age limit to that as well. But I think the way to put this before the public, my record is open for you all to examine. And I believe I've served the West Shore area to the best of my ability, enough that I've been elected 3 times.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, do you have any suggestions about different ways we could select judges?
Thank you. Obviously, any method is imperfect. The merit selection or selection by legislators, you need look no further than contentious arguments for Supreme Court justices to see what happens in those instances. The reality is that whatever method is going to be imperfect. And so to the extent that you open up the conversation to as many people as possible, to get as many voices heard as possible, I think is the right solution. It's what our community currently enjoys. I do have to acknowledge that occasionally it results in two guys with Irish surnames running against each other. But I'm confident that if the voters spend the time to look at it, they'll make the right choice.
Thank you. It's now time for our closing comments. Starting with Mr. Kelly, each candidate for Rocky River Municipal Court Judge will have 2 minutes. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you all again. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. Thank you all in TV land for tuning in. I'm Tom Kelly. I'm an attorney of 22 years in practice. I'm a husband and a father, and I've been here on the West Shore for over 20 years. I believe strongly in the need for active, engaged leadership at all levels of government. And that's why I ran in the past. That's why I was on city council, and that's why I'm running for judge right now. I thank you all for this opportunity. I ask you to look at tomkellyforjudge.com and see for yourself whether or not you find me worthy of your support. In addition to this video, there is a 2023 video that I am featured on that I would also direct your attention to at the League of Women Voters site. And I just would like to thank all of my friends and family for their support. Good evening.
Mr. Hagan?
Thank you. I am Judge Brian Hagan, and I appreciate all of you being here this evening and the League of Women Voters for providing this forum for me to reintroduce again myself to you all. I don't see anybody that looks familiar from the court scene, so you're all in good standing there. JudgeHagan.com. All my endorsements are current. You don't have to look back 6 years, 12 years, or 18 years, because 18 years ago, I received all excellence and preferred from the bar associations. I'm the most qualified, I'm the most experienced, I'm endorsed, I'm preferred, and I'm prepared to continue doing the job that I've been doing for the past 18 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank these candidates for their considered, thoughtful answers. And I would ask you in the audience to join me in thanking them.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's candidate forum presented by the Bay Village, Rocky River, and Westlake North Olmsted chapters of the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland. We're pleased to welcome all of you here with us tonight. I'd also like to welcome those who are watching online via the live stream, and to any folks who are watching the recording, which will be made available on the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland's YouTube channel. My name is Alice Allen. I'm the co-chair of the Rocky River chapter of the League. I'd like to thank the candidates and the clerk of court race who are with us tonight. Thank you to the city of Rocky River for the use of this space. And thank you to all the Bay, River, and Westlake North Olmsted chapter volunteers who are staffing this event. In keeping with our long-standing forum tradition, questions for the candidates will be submitted in written form. Everyone should have received a card as you entered this evening to write down your questions for our candidates, or if you need another card now, raise your hand and someone will bring one to you. When you have a question ready, raise your hand and a runner will come and pick up your card. We have 2 League members at the question sorting table who will be reviewing questions to avoid duplication, to provide a diversity of questions, and to ensure clarity and appropriateness. As I stated earlier, we're recording the program for future viewing on YouTube, and I want to let you all know that personal recording during the program is forbidden by League policy. You are invited to view and share the forum in its entirety on YouTube, but we also have a prohibition on sharing segments of the forum on social media. Finally, we ask the cooperation of the audience in avoiding expressions of support or opposition to any candidate during today's program. Please remember the purpose of this evening is to hear from the candidates so that each resident might make their own best informed decision regarding their vote, and any vocal interruption takes away from the candidates. Now I'd like to introduce you to Pam Smith. We're fortunate to have Ms. Smith as our moderator this evening. She comes to us from Lakewood, where she's been a longtime member of the League. Ms. Smith has served 3 four-year terms on Lakewood City Council and continues to volunteer in many Lakewood civic organizations. Ms. Smith is retired from her marketing manager job with Stainmaster Carpet. She also enjoys moderating candidate forums and recommends them as the best way to learn about candidates. Now let's welcome Pam Smith.
Good evening. I am very glad to be the moderator tonight. I think the best reality television you can have is Candidates Night. I want to tell you a little bit about the League of Women Voters. We're a nonpartisan political membership organization formed in 1920, immediately after the adoption of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution that gave women the right to vote. The League encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League does not endorse candidates, but encourages voters to learn about candidates and ask their own questions to be informed voters. Information on elections is available online, and you will find more at the table in the hall. I'm very glad to be moderating a forum on Clerk of Courts, and we'll be learning a lot about Clerk of Courts, including myself, because as Alice said, I live in Lakewood where we do not elect our clerk. So I expect to be learning a lot. We're going to start with 2 opening statements, 2 minutes each. And we will start with Holly Forsythe, and then Mary Ellen Herman. And then we will reverse that for the closing. I would like to call on Holly for a 2-minute statement.
Hi, thank you again to the League of Women Voters for putting this together. This is a first-time experience for me, and it's very exciting. For those of you who don't know who I am, I have been serving as your Chief Deputy Clerk in the Rocky River Municipal Clerk's Office for the last 15 months. I also have over 5 years of experience as a Deputy Clerk in our Clerk's Office. I also have over 2 years of experience working with the Westlake Law Department as an administrative assistant to their prosecutors and utilizing our Clerk's Office in Rocky River. My education background supports me as clerk. I have a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice Administration, as well as a post-baccalaureate paralegal certificate. I've spent my entire adult career in this clerk's office. I know everything about the way we function, our policies and procedures, and I enjoy being a clerk. I enjoy working as a public employee. There's very unique aspects to our clerk's office, especially that we serve 5 jurisdictions and work with over 6 police agencies and their prosecutors. In 2024, the clerk's office and our entire court took in 11,656 new cases. Every single one of those cases started in our clerk's office, and most of them ended in our clerk's office. The work we do in the clerk's office is so important to record keeping and reporting to not only the Supreme Court of Ohio, but the BMV and other jurisdictions as well. And I look forward to continue serving as a public employee and making our clerk's office the best it can be.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, apologies are in order that I've perhaps mispronounced your name.
No, Hemann is correct. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May we have your 2-minute opening?
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Hemann. I have been a councilwoman in the city of North Olmsted for 12 years. I am currently serving my 12th year. I will end that on December 31st when, with your support, I will be elected to the clerk's office and sworn in on January 1st. I have been a paralegal for 30 years. 11 of those years, just shy of 12 actually, I have spent working at the law firm of Jones Day. I specialized in Fortune 500 Chapter 11 work, which included things like the Chrysler bankruptcy. And so while tracking records and things is important in a municipal court, I had to track every objection to the sale of Chrysler, every response to that sale, and there would not have been a sale if one had been missed. I've also done finance work, the original finance for the Clerk Park, you might know that space as well. Jones is a Fortune 500 company. They represent only Fortune 500 clients. So the work that we performed there was very large and interactive to the courts. I also spent time working for Victor Javich, who was one of the partners in probably one of the largest collection firms and most well-known in the city of Cleveland. I did not do that entry-level work there. I had 2 viatical life insurance fraud cases, 2 civil and 2 criminal. I had to work with implementing electronic filing because there was none at that time. I also had to work at building a website. We were responsible for harnessing all of the assets that were stolen essentially and converting them to cash and redistributing to the defrauded investors. I am a lifetime member of the VFW and I serve that role very proudly. And I look forward to my evening with you all and hope you learn a lot about me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our questions, for which each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. If you have a question in the audience, and well, you might, because do we really understand the office of clerk of court? Maybe, maybe not. I will alternate who answers first, but we're going to start with Ms. Forsythe. Why should I care who is clerk of court?
As I said before, we are a multi-jurisdictional agency, which means that we serve as keeping the records for all of those jurisdictions. People should care because the record keeping is important for these cases. A lot of times in criminal cases and sometimes civil cases, previous records are brought up. If those records are incorrect and inaccurate, that's not going to serve its purpose to anyone. The clerk handles so many aspects of these cases, so many different reporting agencies, financial distributions. Having the right person involved with the experience to do it should matter greatly.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann.
Thank you. So why does it matter who the person is? The person is not the person processing the records, okay? Those are the employees that this high-level person is managing. You're managing a staff of about 22 people, an IT person, and other interactions with finance directors, law directors, and mayors. So experience is important in that role. This is not an entry-level position by any stretch. It is for an experienced business person. They had, 25 years of debt service in the court, paying down bonds, and it's not just managing, records in a file room and producing them when someone asks. It is managing an entire court structure of about a $6 million revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, what specific experience do you have that has prepared you to manage court records and oversee a municipal court?
Sure. Thank you. I did own a court filing service. I did also own a legal secretarial service. I had 70, 80 sole practitioners, of which I actually did all of their court filing. I have, I've done everything. I prepared all the documents. I filed the documents. Sometimes our cases would overload the federal district courts. I would actually go to the court and help the employees manage their dockets because the volume of our work was too much for them to properly match all of the documents and see that docket be kept well. So I think that I have done every aspect just from a different side of the table, although I have interacted easily on the clerk side as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Forsythe. What specific experience has prepared you to manage court records and oversee?
So as I said before, I have been serving as the chief deputy clerk for the last 15 months, and I've worked as a deputy clerk for over 5 years, excuse me. I have been taught so much by our current clerk on everything that we do. It is managing a room full of people who does the daily process, and there are times that this happens when your staff needs help, you jump in and you help them. And you have to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. It's important to know every aspect on what your employees are doing to make sure that they're handling these records with the care that it should be, and that we're all doing and processing these records the way it needs to be done, the way the statutes dictate it to be done.
Thank you. Starting with Ms. Forsythe, what experience do you have that is most relevant to clerk of court's position? Can you cite a specific example?
So I think the best example I could have would be, as Chief Deputy Clerk, I am a member of the Ohio Association of Municipal and County Court Clerks. That is a statewide association of all of the clerks within municipal and county courts. This association has been the best thing I've ever been a part of. We talk every day. Getting to know clerks throughout the state of Ohio and how they're managing certain issues and bringing things together and how we're handling things has been so beneficial to me. And seeing how other people are making advances in their clerk's office has really brought some new information to light.
Thank you. Seaman?
Yes, thank you. So unlike my opponent, I wasn't hired into a job to run for an office. I had to earn my experience over 30 years. And I am not allowed or permitted to join that organization because it is for clerks only. I have been a member of the Ohio State Bar Association most of my life and belong to many other organizations of which support, legal ethics, legal profession, and legal work. In addition to, again, my 30 years of running 40, person work groups, running court dockets and all of the other things that I have done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Starting with Seaman, we're always wondering about finances, aren't we? Do you have a recommendation that would allow the court to save money?
Thank you, I do. I think that, some of there is a deficit. It has been going for a while. It actually in part was created when there was wanting to be a municipal campus. So there was a 25-year debt service structure that was imposed on the court. And in that space of doing that, you limit then the funds available for other projects that are imposed by the state of Ohio and or mental health services, things that the court would want to use. So you have to review all of the work that's being done in the court, how the work is being done, how the workflow is processed, and are the employees working efficiently and well. Is number one. Number two is you have to look at all of the costs and where do they go, and look at it and take a hard look at the finances with those finance directors, with those mayors, and figure out how you can reduce those costs.
Thank you, Ms. Forsythe. Do you have a recommendation that would allow the court to save money?
So last year, we were able to pay down our deficit by $472,707.56. There's not many government entities that can tell you they've paid off that deficit in that high amount in 1 year. We were able to do that because we were able to pay off the bond of our building several years ago, so we no longer have to pay that. At this point, I think we need to further continuing enforcing the payment of court fines and costs. We have a collection specialist in our office who's done a fantastic job of working with defendants to get that money through the door, because it doesn't matter what you charge. If they're not paying it, you don't have that money. And we've also been utilizing the Ohio Attorney General's office for collections. That's also been beneficial to us. So I'd like to continue doing that.
Thank you. The next question is about artificial intelligence, AI, which increasingly affects all of us. Starting with you, Ms. Forsythe, can you please tell us how could AI help the clerk's office?
So AI was actually something that was taught in my post-baccalaureate paralegal certificate class as part of our computer programs, because it's becoming so increasingly used everywhere. I can't say for certain that I can see a total benefit right now in our clerk's office, but I do see that, it is being widely used everywhere. Is it to say that we won't have AI in the clerk's office in the future? No, not necessarily. But right now we have employees who handle our paperwork and everything that comes through the court that I can't see a need for AI to be processing anything for us.
Ms. Hemann, do you think that AI could help in the clerk's office?
Probably to a limited degree. There is, things like exhibits, there's electronic intake. depending on how that interfaces with the products that are out there for electronic intake, it is possible that it could be a benefit. But at this point, not large enough that I think there would be a lot spent to discover it. I think it's in its early phases. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, what improvements do you recommend for the clerk's office?
Some of the improvements that I might recommend to the clerk's office, of course, I don't actually work there. I have only known people who either practice in the court there as lawyers or they're end users. And one of the most common complaints that I've gotten knocking on doors is pretty much that every time I go there, it's canceled. There's no hearing because dockets are behind, I'm told. Our police officers, for example, would go to a hearing, then we pay another police officer to be on the shift for that officer who's at the hearing. The end user, the defendant, goes to the court and then the hearing is canceled. So some of those things, cleaning up the dockets, keeping them on track and keeping them running smoothly, I think would be one of the first benefits.
Thank you, Ms. Forsythe. What's an example of an operation that you might want to improve?
Just to comment on Ms. Hemann's comment about the dockets, those are handled by the judicial staff and the judges. The clerk's office does not handle their schedules. That's on them to handle and cancel on their own. One thing that I would really look forward to handling in the clerk's office and that we demoed with our police agencies earlier this year was the e-warrant system from the Ohio Department of Public Safety. This is a system that the state of Ohio is trying to roll out throughout all municipalities and police jurisdictions everywhere. And what this system allows us to do is that the minute a warrant or protection order is issued by the court or generated by a deputy clerk, an electronic submission is sent to the corresponding jurisdiction's dispatch center to alert them that a new warrant or TPO has been issued. And it allows for faster service on these warrants. It better protects our officers because that information is readily available right then and there. And I would really look forward to having that in our jurisdiction.
Thank you. This is a question about funding for the court. It would appear to be kind of complicated to be spread over so many jurisdictions. How is the court funded? And could you ensure the strength of the court's finances in the future? Starting with Ms. Forsythe.
So as I said before, we did pay off a very large sum of our deficit last year. The court does not run on any money other than the money that walks through our doors. Court costs alone, although there are several agencies that take part of it, the county and the state, board of pharmacy. That money gets dispersed every month as it should be, and then court costs, remainder of that come to us. Fines get distributed to the appropriate jurisdiction after that. I think that we need to continue again that enforcement on the payment of those costs and the payment of filing fees and court costs, and just encourage them that we can continue paying these. And as that money comes in and collections continues, we can continue paying off that deficit.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann?
Thank you. The deficit, I don't know was paid off. I know that the bond was paid off. So unfortunately, I don't know what the deficit is. It's not reported in the annual reports by dollars. It just says that it was cut in half, whatever that number is. Courts are funded by the money that walks in the door. That is true. Courts are also funded by the overages that our suburbs pay when there is a shortage in that court. So we are charged, kind of charged back through a backdoor system, if you will, fully legal through the Ohio Revised Court. Last year in North Olmsted, ours was $30,000 as an overage. So we are in fact funding the courts. It's not like it's just from the costs and the fees. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, how many people does the clerk manage or supervise, and what experience do you have managing employees?
Thank you. I believe it's 22, a combination of deputy clerks and 2 supervisors. I'd have to count the number to be exact. And then it's listed as an IT person and something else. But that I think is an employee in part from Rocky River Municipality. My experience in managing employees is I did own a business. I had to start a business from the ground up. I managed my employees, hired them. I would put together work teams of at least 40 to 50 people, working round the clock in 3 different cities when I worked at Jones Day. It was a very high profile job with regard to making sure that a level of 50 or 60 partners, senior lawyers, junior lawyers were all staffed fully to capacity for any need they may have at any moment.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe?
As chief deputy clerk, I've already been working with everyone in our clerk's office. We do have 10 deputy clerks, 2 supervisors, 1 full-time IT person, and 1 part-time IT person. Those both belong to the court, not to the city. I work with them every day, 5 days a week. I see them often more times than my children. I love every single one of them. It's been so great to work with all of them. We work very well together. And when problems arise, they know that they can come to me, even if they just need to let it out and vent. And I'm happy to do that for them. I want to continue doing that for them.
Thank you. This is a question that came from the audience asking, outside of interactions with the court and managing records, are there ways that the office interacts or supports the community? Ms. Forsythe, can you address this?
Yep, so we see everybody that walks through the door. The clerk's office is the big windows on the left, right when you walk in to the clerk's office. We see family members, victims, concerned individuals, attorneys, defendants, all members of our community walk through that door every day and they can come to the window and ask for assistance. We are dealing with them face to face and on the phone quite frequently, all of the time. We also work closely with all of our police jurisdictions. We talk to them every single day, and the law directors and the finance directors as well. And it's really just a unique place to be in because there's not many places where a victim can come to the window and ask for help, and a defendant can come to the window and also ask for help.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, would you have any suggestions about interacting and supporting the community?
That's a very difficult question. I can say for 12 years as a councilwoman, I have supported my community. Matter of fact, I'm at the Landmarks Commission yesterday, supporting a resident who wants an addition. So I offer support in many ways to residents, and of course that would extend into the clerk's office as well. There's a fine line of how you can help them, so your best service to them is actually funneling them to resources that can help them, because you can't offer advice to practice law. You can't ethically do that as an officer of the court. So within the court structure, the services that are available through the various agencies and or services that might be available through the municipalities, for example, in North Olmsted, we've got social workers at our senior center. So if it were a defendant from North Olmsted, perhaps they could be paired that way or through some other municipality, I would think would be a starting place.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, what's the most effective and fair way for the court to collect outstanding fines and costs? Should it be through a collection agency or through a dedicated full-time employee?
Thank you. That's a tough question because collection is probably the biggest bane that the court might have, really, is that you can charge all the costs that you want, but if you can't collect them, well, then you still don't have that money in hand. So I don't know about the use of outside collection sources. There is one through the state of Ohio that we use in North Olmsted for certain things that we collect. I don't know about whether or not it would actually be the most beneficial to the court. I would imagine that the judges would have input to that with regard to some of those things. And relying on a collection agency charging, a third of that and receiving a third of that, I don't know that that's the best way. So that is a very tough question, and I don't know that there's a hard answer to it.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe?
So as I said earlier, we do have one deputy clerk who is full-time a collection specialist. She's been doing a fantastic job over the past 4 or 5 years. Focusing on collections. She calls defendants and emails them every day, all day long, 5 days a week, to work with them to get them on a payment plan that works for them. Whether that be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, she will do everything in her power to just encourage these people to make these payments and finish paying their case off to be done with our court. I do think the Ohio Attorney General's office does offer us some good options for collections with the Ohio Attorney General. We don't typically go that route right from the start. That typically becomes a last ditch effort. But they have done some great work over the years.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe, what's your recruitment and retention plan for ensuring the court has and keeps the most qualified court employees?
We have the most qualified deputy clerk, I can say, throughout the state of Ohio. We have certain individuals in the clerk's office who have been in the clerk's office longer than I've been alive. And there's a certain type of person that you want handling your records, right? You want somebody who's gonna be thorough and efficient and know what they're processing and why they're processing it. And I think it's just looking for the right individuals who are willing to be a public employee and to continue that great work and know the importance behind everything that we're doing.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann?
Thank you. Hiring employees is, it's critically important because you have employees that are already at the court, for example, and have been there a long time. Many that I have known, some no longer work there any longer. So when you're bringing someone new in, not only do they have to have good credentials as well as good experience, but a willingness to learn and a willingness to fit in with the larger group that exists, because it's a tight-knit group when you're working together. And I think that piece is important to make sure that the individual is a correct fit for the rest of the group to be successful in their job. And the retention, I would hope that they offer raises and benefits and things. But again, they're not spelled out in the annual report, so I don't know what that is. I don't know how much they get paid, but that would be a working of retention and education.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe, Ms. Hemann, how would you ensure effective communication and coordination between the clerk's office and the police departments within the court's jurisdiction?
Considering that there's 5 communities, that's a little difficult because of course you're working with the officers that come to the hearings. I think that having good communication with the chiefs of police is very important. I do have that now with my own chief in North Olmsted. We do have a safety director to work with that I think could also play a role in that communication. But really the officers coming into the court know what they're there for, and you have to be prepared to have what they need ready and make sure that they are not spending too much time that they don't need to while they are there performing their services.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe, how do you ensure effective communication between the clerk and the various police departments?
So we do have 5 jurisdictions. However, we have the metro parks in our jurisdictions, which is a separate police entity, plus the Ohio State Highway Patrol, and occasionally the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office. That's 8 jurisdictions, 8 agencies we have to speak to, and they rely on paperwork from our clerk's office in order to handle warrants, recalls, TPOs, new filings. They receive paperwork from us 5 days a week. 5 days a week, the police department sends someone over to our office to pick up their paperwork. I think that narrowing that down to an electronic version would be quicker. Like I said before, the e-warrant system would provide us the opportunity to instantaneously get those warrants and TPOs and the recalls of those warrants and TPOs in and out of leads more efficiently.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe, if an error were made in scheduling or reporting, how would that be handled? And what steps would you take to ensure it wouldn't happen again?
As far as scheduling goes, the clerk's office doesn't schedule much unless it is in regards to somebody posting bond for a new hearing. And that does happen, and it's usually rectified very quickly by calling or mailing or emailing, notifying the defendant of the correct time and date that they're supposed to appear. As far as record keeping purposes, we're human. It happens. It's not something we haven't handled before, and it's not something we don't have the communication with or whatever reporting agency to have that record corrected very efficiently and very quickly.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, do you have any comments on how to correct errors in scheduling or reporting?
I think that good management prevents errors. So I think that when you're managing all of the employees, you have to check their work, trust their judgment. When that gets handed over to the judge's scheduler or bailiff, you still have to work with that person to make sure that that is still, going to be handed up to that judge correctly. The judge is relying on every single person underneath in that system. And as the manager, clerk, if you will, of all of those people, you have to be able to ensure that their work is correct and guarantee it. And I would think that the buck stops with the clerk.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, how will you maintain ethical standards and protect against potential misuse of court records or favoritism in scheduling and filings?
Well, you just don't. It's like really simple. Ethics are life, right? In a judicial system, ethics are the world. They're everything. And you just don't break that rule, not for anything.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe.
As far as scheduling, the clerks don't schedule unless somebody's posting bond. That's done by the police department at the time of their citation or arrest, or done by the judges, bailiffs, and their staff. As far as records, I think the current process we have in the clerk's office now gives us the best ability to make sure that all public records released from our office have been seen by a deputy clerk to make sure that no sensitive information has been given to the general public and that protected information is in fact redacted accordingly. At this point, we have records requested multiple times a day, 5 days a week, and sometimes on the weekend waiting for us when we get in on Monday. And no one's waiting more than 48 hours for a records request. And every single request leaving this office has had eyes on it by a deputy clerk.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe, can you continue to answer along that line, since one of the questions we have is, how do you balance the security and public access when managing sensitive court records?
Sure. So right now, court dockets are available online. However, images, copies of paperwork, complaints are not available to the general public, and that is done intentionally. They can be requested by anyone in the general public. All we require is that you send us a simple email of what it is you're looking for in that specific case. And a deputy clerk who is responsible for answering that would respond to that request accordingly and putting eyes on every document that is sent out to make sure that sensitive information is redacted.
Thank you.
Could you repeat that question?
Yes. How do you balance security and public access when managing sensitive court records?
Thank you. Thank you. So security and public access, I have worked in courts that all documents were public, and I've worked in courts that none of them were. Redaction is very sensitive. I don't think that some people realize that, early on when you redacted a document and uploaded it to court, you actually could, through another PDF, see the redaction. So you have to be completely careful about how that document is being redacted, what information is being redacted, and that you are following the letter of the law. In my career, I was held to such a high ethical standard that I couldn't buy or sell stock without firm permission because of the ethics. So you don't release anything unless it's been approved, not just by one person, but likely two. Because there's so much information to be stolen today that you don't want to risk that you're involved mistakenly in that chain of lack of privacy.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, what role do you think the clerk's office can play in improving public understanding of court processes?
Of court
Process.
thank you. That's tough. I've always said that the legal community is the most cloistered group in the universe. Everybody knows what their dentist does. Everybody knows what their doctor does. Not a lot of people know what their lawyer does, except that what they've instructed them to do, but they're not usually there while it's happening. So you can invite the public in for, seminars, information. You can go out to the public. You can go to senior centers. You could go into those communities and municipalities, and explain the process essentially, but until there's someone who's really using the court, I'm not sure that they have a big interest in what goes on there until they need to know. But I do think that there are ways to get that message out, personally. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe?
I do have to agree that unless you're utilizing the court for a specific reason or another, most people don't know the processes and what the next step would be. I do think that the best way to find out is to call, because there's deputy clerks waiting on the other line that are happy to answer questions that they can answer for you. They can't tell you how to do anything. They can't give you legal advice, but they could answer your question that, is this person scheduled for a day? Or can you tell me when I'm scheduled next? Do you know if the prosecutor will be at the arraignment or if they're only available at pretrials? Simple questions on next steps can be answered quickly and efficiently by all of our deputy clerks.
Thank you. Ms. Forsythe, what strategies do you have for managing the high volume of case events and ensuring that judges, magistrates, and parties receive timely notice?
So, as far as pretrials, bench trials, oral hearings, plea hearings, that is all done by the judge's staff. The clerk's office keeps the records as far up into arraignment, and then if and when they fail to appear for any court processings, and then any money they may owe the court after court processes. As far as notification, when you're arrested or cited or anything of the sort, you were either given a or bond, a citation with your court date on it, wherein sometimes you're often given a summons via FedEx with your court date on it. That's a system that's worked for our clerk's office for many, many years. And we also have been exercising the use of email very much recently for notifying defendants. We ask them to send in the request via email and we respond via email, so it's done instantaneously. You're not waiting on the mail.
Thank you. Ms. Hemann, given that the court relies to some extent, on financial contributions from all the cities within its jurisdiction, how would you ensure that each city pays its fair share?
I'm sorry, did I miss a question?
Here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you answer the question that Ms. Forsythe?
I don't think.
No, I don't think she did.
Okay, I'm sorry very much. What strategies do you
If
have?
I can skip one, sure.
Strategies do you have for managing the high volume of case events and ensuring that all judges, magistrates, and parties receive timely notice?
Thank you. That has been my 30-year career to make sure that happens. Law firms like Jones Day, our goal is faster, better, cheaper. That's how you make more money, because we sell what's in our brain. So managing work process is the first step. You have to make sure that the process is efficient. Something can be done that same way for 30 years, but somebody who's had no outside business experience may not know that there's a different or better way to do that. So you need to bring in that experience and evaluate how that work is being processed, and maybe change the order of how things are done. Maybe look at new software methods, new other methods, tracking methods, and delivery methods. And then again, working with those judges' staffs to make sure that process is going to them smoothly, quickly, and that they don't need something different. Doesn't matter how I'm doing it if they want something different.
Thank you very much. We are at the end of the question time and time for our closing statements. As Ms. Forsythe started, we will start the closing statements with Ms. Hemann.
Thank you. I hope you've learned some things about me this evening, but I again would like to stress that 30 years of working in law firms and handling every type of document, every type of situation, back to manual filing, to initiating electronic filing, having done collection work myself. Back when I first started out, I have seen every piece of work that goes on in the court and personally done it just from the other side of the table. I believe that I have the ability through my 12 years as a council person to understand budgets, to understand how financing works, to understand how to work with all of the folks at the court in managing employees and working with the top tier executive levels as well. It's a very large position, the clerk of courts. It's not entry level. And it takes, I think, a steady hand, a lot of experience, and a lot of dedication and hard work. I've spent most of my career working 60 to 80 hours a week in my adult life. And I look forward to the challenge of running the Rocky River Clerk's office to the best that it can be to serve all of the residents of the municipalities, all of the judges that work there, all of the mayors that service it, and every person that touches that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Forsythe.
I would also have to agree. I hope everyone learned something tonight. I know the clerk's office isn't the most interesting position, and that most people have no idea what we do on a regular day, on a monthly basis, and annually. I think that it's important for everyone to know that experience really does matter, and it matters to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the processes involved. And as the only candidate who's had any experience in that office, I just would love the opportunity to continue doing the great work we've been doing and bring in new procedures, update policies. Let's become the most efficient clerk's office we've ever been before, and continuing the great work that the Rocky River Municipal Court has been doing for the last however many years. There's so much to this position and there's so much on the line. It is a big job, but it's one that I'm ready to fill and I'm excited to fill. And I look forward to continuing to serve these communities as a public employee like I have been doing.
Thank you. That brings us to the close of our questions and answers. I'm sure you can buttonhole the candidates outside of this event and ask questions that you may still have. But I would like to thank the audience for your attention and careful consideration of questions. I'd like to thank the candidates who are on the hot spot answering a lot of questions that may seem very arcane to them, but it's information that the public needed to know. Thank you very much.